Hello everyone. On behalf of TCS IN Direct Academy channel, I welcome you all to the Entrepreneurship webinar. My name is Rahul Soni and I am Program Director at TCS IN Direct Academy channel. I will be your host for today's talk show. Today we have invited a very special guest, Mr. Vishwas Mudgal, who is a successful serial entrepreneur, a professional CEO, best-selling author, an angel investor, and motivational speaker. Let's quickly know more about our speaker. Mr. Mudgal co-founded GoodWorks Lab, which has become a multi-million-dollar company growing at 500% year-on-year. It was ranked third fastest growing tech company by Financial Times 2018 and awarded the fifth fastest growing company by Deloitte Fast 50 in 2016. His other venture, Cowork, is one of the India's fastest growing co-working and managed office brands. Awarded number one co-working space in Bangalore, GoodWorks is pioneering co-working for enterprise with large workspaces, great infrastructure, tech-driven operations, and beautiful designs. He received the Business Leader of the Year Award 2020 by Economic Times Now channel and Star Entrepreneur Award from Indira India Innovation Summit 2011. He was named in the top 11 personalities of Bangalore by Deccan Chronicle in 2014. Writing is his passion, and he has embraced storytelling as his parallel career. Losing My Religion is the debut novel, which has become a sensational bestseller and is billed as much read for every professional student entrepreneur. The Last Avatar is his second book. His popular web series, Ask Vishwas, has garnered over 80 million views on social media. So let's welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Vishwas Mudgal. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here, Rahul. So it's a pleasure to be speaking at this platform.
I know we all are waiting to know more about your entrepreneurship journey. But before that, I will give you the overview of the topic, entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur is someone who organizes, manages, and assumes the risk of the business or enterprise. An entrepreneur is an agent of change. Entrepreneurship is the process of discovering new ways of combining resources. A vibrant, growing economy depends on the efficiency of the process by which new ideas are quickly discovered, acted on, and labeled as successes or failures. Successful entrepreneurs expand. So let's start a round of questions. So first of all, Vishwas, I want to ask you, tell us more about your life, your career, how you got into entrepreneurship, your overall journey so far. And also please share about your initial struggles you faced when you started.
Yeah, absolutely, Rahul. So if you look at my journey, I have been a dreamer. First of all, more than anything else, I dream. I have been a creator. I have been an entrepreneur, a storyteller, and most importantly, I think I've been a student of life. If you look at the entire journey, I've been a constant learner through the way. And if you look at my passion, that is something that I have looked at a very young age. I realized that entrepreneurship is my passion. And that is something that I always wanted to do from the very beginning. I was a teenage entrepreneur. At the age of 18, I started my first company. It was called Infovision Computer Academy, and I ran it for about 3 years, and about close to about 500 to 600 students. They got trained in this whole computers and all of that. The new age internet and all of that stuff. I remember it was in North Karnataka, where I come from. It was a small town called Gadag, and I was the first person to get internet to our small town or village, you can call it. So it is one of the most important accomplishments that I did. And I remember going to my father and asking him, I need a loan of 1 lakh rupees to start my first venture. And he was actually shocked looking at me. And but he was so encouraging. My dad was a well-known physician, doctor in that area, and then he said, okay, he wanted to encourage me, so he gave me the money, and then with that, he was my first investor, right? And then I went about the journey in that fashion. And later, basically, I realized that once I completed my engineering, from RV College of Engineering. It's a top institute in India. It's based in Bangalore. I realized that I need to have a professional experience, so I joined Huawei Technologies. I worked with them for some time. I worked with Honeywell, with Motorola. I worked with them, and then I started my own journey as an entrepreneur again. So once you are an entrepreneur, you will always be an entrepreneur. That's a saying that we have in entrepreneurship circles. It's like a bug that it bites you, right? So after that, I started my a very serious venture. It was called jobbyhive.com. It was into the company reviews and salary reviews and all of that, where people will come and do research on companies before they join a new company, right? So it was a very, very good service. We had lakhs of users even back then. This was in 2006, 2007. We had millions of hits. So we were going really good. And I ran it for a couple of years. And then all of a sudden we realized that we had totally gone bankrupt, because we had not focused on creating the revenue for the company. Because in the US, you know how it is, like YouTube and all those companies, even when they reached $1 billion valuation, they didn't have a single rupee as revenue. So their business models were as such, and we want to do something very similar to that, but we ran out of the money, the funding ran out. And one of the reasons why I'm telling you all of this is because I want the viewers to understand the difficulties of entrepreneurship and how to navigate it around it, right? So we ran out of the funding, and we had to basically shut down the company. And I, at that point in time, this burden of failure in my mind was very huge. I thought that I have ruined my life. I thought that I'm going to be tainted for the rest of my life, that I didn't have a successful company. Practically, I wanted to run away. Basically, I just wanted to take my bike and just go on a journey. That's what I wanted to do. But what happened was that I got a call from Canada, and then this was called from an MNC. And then they told me that they wanted to hire me as their CEO for the India and Asia Pacific operations. And then I thought it's a prank call. I thought somebody is calling me from Canada and then I told them, I think you guys are mistaken. I just shut down my company. Why such a big company like yours? Why would like to hire me here? Because you can just Google for me. I just shut down my company. So they said, we have done a lot of research on you, and we want you because of the experience you have got in creating the startup, in creating the technology teams, in creating millions of users on internet. That is what we want you to bring to the table. We want to hire about 150 people here in India, and we want to create world-class software, and we want to expand business. So you have done all of this, so we want you, right? So it was so strange, right? One day I was practically shutting down my company. The next day I became a CEO for a multinational company at the age of 27. So I took up that job. I became the CEO for that company, right? And then ran it successfully for the next 4 years. That is a separate thing. But at that point in time, I introspected. I thought about it. What really happened here? How this whole thing came about? And this also became a point of introspection for me as an entrepreneur as well. And then I introspected, and then I realized that there is no concept of failure in life, and there is no concept of failure, especially for an entrepreneur. There is nothing called failure for entrepreneurs, because failures are a part of the journey itself. So we just have to understand why we failed, understand the reasons why we failed, learn from the mistakes, pick ourselves up, and then move forward, right? So that is the whole point. Had I not taken the risks of starting my own company, I wouldn't have had the professional experience to become a professional CEO for a multinational company, right? You can start your own company, tag yourself as a CEO, but to become a professional CEO for another company, it takes you a lot of time, right? So that is the whole point. So that was my initial journey, and that was my initial struggle. So I think if I had the right kind of mentorship, maybe if I had the right kind of platforms that time, that kind of funding, maybe I would have been successful initially in those ventures. But yeah, because of those failures, I went ahead and created many successful ventures after that. So the point I want to make here, the last point I want to make here is there is no concept of failure. You have to take risks, you have to learn from the mistakes, and you have to keep moving forward.
Great start. Thanks. You have been an achiever. Following one's passion and what we have mentioned, there is no failure in entrepreneurship, basically. So it's a big takeaway, very important takeaway, which our audience may get from you. So coming to the next question, it's related to the idea, basically the innovation part. As we all know today, many want to become an entrepreneur and want to start their own business. So how one should narrow down an idea? How should one analyze their skills and their skill sets to become an entrepreneur?
Got it. Yeah. So this is a very good question. A lot of people come and ask me what they need to do, how they need to become an entrepreneur, all of that. So I believe that the first thing that you need to do to come up with an idea to start a company is to find out a problem that you are very passionate about and something that you want to solve in the market. It can be anything. For example, let's take an example of Uber. There were taxis already, but the taxis are not immediately available. They were not available anywhere you wanted. You didn't know where the taxi is currently. They had number of issues in the taxi industry. So they brought a tech enablement for the taxi industry so that we can book it anytime you want. You don't have to negotiate with them in terms of how much is the fare and all of that. Everything is just there. So that is the innovation they try to do. So first is you understand which problem you want to solve. Number two, you create a solution on how you want to solve this problem in a very innovative way, either a tech enablement or a business process innovation, or a new way of looking at the whole revenue model itself, right? For example, YouTube made videos free. For example, initially people used to pay for content and all of that, so they made it free because of a different revenue model altogether. It was ad-based revenue model, right? So there are different ways of solving a particular problem. I think people need to focus on that. Innovation is important. So that comes to the next question. So people always ask me, okay, how do we innovate? How do we innovate is a question. One is how do we start a company is one thing, but how do we innovate is another thing. So there's a very simple framework when you want to innovate. So the basic thing that you need to do for innovation is you need to question the status quo. That is very, very interesting, important. So for example, we are talking today. So you and me, Rahul, we are talking today on video conferencing and stuff like that. So somebody who wants to innovate here can think about why I should just talk like this. Why can't I create something that is hologram based? Basically, because I should feel that Rahul is sitting right next to me right now. So it should be a projector or something like that, right? Where like a Star Wars kind of thing. I need to be here right now. Somebody wants to solve that, right? So it comes by starting with question: why is it not possible? Why we are doing this currently, right? So then only you innovate and you get to that position. So innovation is a framework. We need to start creating that kind of a culture. So that is important. And coming to whether or not you are an entrepreneurial material, okay? So there are a few things that you need to understand, that entrepreneurship is not only about starting a company. Entrepreneurship is about a mindset. It's about an entrepreneurial mindset in anything you do in your life, no matter you're working for yourself or working for somebody else. It's about how you deal with your life, how you deal with your job, your team. That's all it matters. So if you have that entrepreneurial mindset, you will consider your team, your business unit, anywhere you're working as your startup, and you will put so much passion in it, you will make it successful. Okay, that's what is called an entrepreneurial mindset. There are a few things that will help you succeed in entrepreneurial mindset at work. Okay, so I'll tell you about 5 or 6 things. first thing that you need to focus on is action, okay, which many people fail to understand. You can plan, you can do a lot of things, you can talk and all of that, but at the end of the day, if you don't focus on execution, there is no point. So that is the number one thing you need to understand. You need to be result oriented. You need to focus on execution and creating an amazing finish for your products or your solution or your service. That's important. Number two is you have to be very resourceful. That's very, very critical. Getting things done by going out of the way is very critical. So because what happens is, for an entrepreneur or for anything, if you want to achieve more, there will be 100 reasons why you cannot succeed, or there will be 100 reasons why you will not do a particular job. So you need to think out of the box. You have to be very, very resourceful. Use things efficiently. Take help from others and make sure that you are continuing in your journey. Number three is you should be obsessed with results, which I have told you already, that you need to focus on what matters most, that is results. That's important. Because at the end of the day, if you don't achieve results, it's going to be difficult to justify yourself. And number four thing is you need to be a risk taker. If you don't take risk, that means that you are not growing, basically. You are not starting on your journey, entrepreneurial journey. You cannot be afraid of failure. You have to love challenges. You have to take challenges. So that is the most important thing. That is something that is important. And the fifth thing is that you have to be constantly on the move, constantly be restless, basically. You cannot waste time. You need to, whatever you want to do tomorrow, you have to do it today. So that's how an entrepreneur works, right? And number 6, which is the most important thing, is you have to learn from others. You have to basically collaborate and succeed. You have to basically learn how to network with people around you. Get the right kind of mentors, get the right kind of guidance, create the right kind of a team, right? So all these are important. So if you look at, okay, can I become an entrepreneur? These 5-6 things I have told you right now, those are your mantra to understand whether can you do something like this or not, because it needs that tremendous amount of passion, tremendous amount of risk-taking capabilities, and resilience. Because failure is going to be a part of the game. So you need to be tough to deal with it, and it comes by experience. I mean, it's not a rocket science. It's just about getting started is more important.
Yes. So thanks, Vishwas, for explaining about the skill sets, basically how anyone can analyze on the skill sets part. And it's a very important factor which you have told. It's all about the mindset, basically, to become an entrepreneur or to do anything. So the next question comes about the idea only. The next question is related to that only. When we talk about idea, okay, so we have numerous of ideas, hundreds of ideas, but the problem lies here. The big challenge is the finance. So we talk about that one of the biggest roadblocks for any new startup is the financials. So how should one manage and plan for the same, and what are the various avenues in today's world to arrange the finance?
Got it. Yeah. So I'm going to address it like one by one. So I remember I was being asked this question by a couple of students in a college. So basically, the people ask me, what is the biggest hindrance for entrepreneurship? Okay, what is the biggest hindrance for entrepreneurship? And I told them the biggest hindrance for entrepreneurship is home loans, right? And when I said that, everybody was like shocked. Why is he talking about home loans being a big hindrance for entrepreneurship? So that's when I explained them, and I want to explain today to you as well, that the society, right, the kind of rules that we have set. It's all about when you're in college, you need to get good marks. When you go to the college, it's about getting the right kind of placements in your campus placements. And once you get your campus placement, it's all about getting a good job, good salary, and then people are pushing, especially in India, people are pushing you to get married and have kids, and also they're going to push you to have a home for yourself, right? Very early in life, they want to do that. This mindset we have, and then because of that mindset, people will go and buy an apartment in a city like Bangalore or Mumbai, Delhi, it's not going to be lesser than crore rupees, right? And once you take that kind of a loan, what happens is you have about 1 to 1.5 lakh rupees of loan per month, kind of a EMI kind of a thing. And with that, what happens is your risk taking capabilities comes down. Okay, so that is the big reason. It's not only about home loan. What happens is anything that you take that is very capital extensive, you have to put in money to take a loan and buy all those things. These things are like materialistic things that happens in very early in your career. Those are the biggest deterrents for people to take up entrepreneurship, because it will never allow you to take risks. Because what happens, you have to pay EMIs. So how you want to pay EMIs, right? So one thing I want to tell all the audience here is that do not buy expensive things early in your career, because that is going to be a big issue, because it will not let you take off in your entrepreneurial journey. So that is something you need to be careful about. The second thing, to come and answer your questions, how is that we need to secure funding? So what happens is there are multiple ways of funding your startups. Of course, first thing, like I said in the first question that you asked me, was I borrowed from my father, right? So the first thing that you think you should do is, first of all, use your own funds. You need to dig into your savings. That's why it's very important to save. If you dig into savings, that will help you to get to a certain level. And then ask your family, friends. That is the first level of funding usually, right? And you can always pay them back. So that is the one thing. Second is, of course, once you have a particular, you reach a particular stage, you always have you need to create like a prototype, or you need to create a working concept of your business, or you first pilot customer for your business, right? And then you start looking at seed funding, angel funding. So there are many angel investment platforms at this point in time. There are multiple, like Mumbai Indians, Mumbai Angels, Chennai Angels. The Let's Venture platform is there, R Ventures, and Head Start, and all these platforms are there for helping entrepreneurial groups so that they are able to learn from each other and also get funding opportunities. So that is one thing. And of course, after that, you have professional VCs and all, they're coming. That is another thing. Or you can also go to the banks these days. So banks also have numerous schemes that have been funded by the government as well. So MSME support is there. Export supports are there, SEC support, many kind of actually government has a lot of schemes, so we can figure out how we can get funding from there as well. So depending on how your startup is at, so that is another thing that you can look at. Also, you can look at co-working as an industry as well. You can look at it. So fortunately, I'm running a very successful co-working chain of co-working spaces. We are called GoodWorks. So GoodWorks co-working spaces. So we are basically currently based in Bangalore. We have about 7 or 8 centers here right now. And as a part of people coming and working in co-working spaces, they also get access to the mentors. They also get access to the funding opportunities. Like, for example, we also have something called GoodWorks Angel Fund. So where we invest about, say, 20 lakh to about 1 crore in about 5 to 6 startups in a year, right? So to promote entrepreneurship and encourage entrepreneurship, right? And also give them a support system and all of that. So, being a co-working place can help you network with a lot of customers. Make sure that you get feedback early on from customers, as a pilot customers, because that is more valuable, right? Or get the right kind of co-founders, and go on, get on a journey for that, right? For the with the right kind of people. So all these things, co-working location can happen. And of course, there are incubators also. There are many incubators in India. There's Atal incubation centers. There are, every college has got an incubation center these days. So entrepreneurship as a subject has to be taught at school level, and I'm very glad these days schools and colleges are starting to teach entrepreneurship. So that is something that is phenomenal. That is how we started.
Thanks a lot, Vishwas, for explaining about the avenues which are available for finances. So you told that be risk ready and do not get under heavy debts in the beginning of your career. Use your own funds first. and do savings and dig into your savings. Apart from this, Vishwas, when we talk about the other challenges, we heard in the news and in newspapers that 3 people or 4 people start their business, but after 2 or 3 years, the business gets collapsed and they are no more friends or no more doing their same business. So, equally big challenge for a startup is having the right mix of people and the right team, basically. So, please guide our viewers on how they can plan for it and what are the key factors which must be focused on.
Yeah. So I think when I invest, I'm myself an angel investor. So when I look at any other startup, what is a key thing I look at is one of the first thing I look at is a team, right? So whether the team can execute the vision that they have got, that is very critical. So because what happens is sometimes founders are, just only one person is there. So the confidence is not much. Okay. So what happens is, a team needs to be there. Even if there is one founder, they need to come up with a team saying that, okay, this is the senior management or this is the team that I currently have, right? That is going to be important. So I think having 2 or 3 co-founders makes a lot of sense. And these co-founders have to have a mix of the skill set. They need to come from a diverse background. So what we have seen is the people who come with diversity in their teams, they always succeed, right? There are many, there is a woman, team member as well. There is somebody from abroad, or so if the business is about, say, doing something in consumer space or finance space, and then one of the co-founders is from technology, for example. So that also brings in the fresh perspective of another industry into this industry. That is important. So the right mix of the founders also is very critical for the success of the startup. So that's why you need to network a lot. Networking is very, very important to build your connections in industry, to stand out as a like a personality in the industry, to create your personal brand. So that right people are around you, so that you can also start interacting with them, build rapport with them, and see whether who really is a good fit for your startup, right? That is important. And of course, there are one of the biggest reasons for startups, the failure of startups, is that co-founder breakups and co-founder fights. That is very, very difficult to predict. But I think having very clear, agreements in place to make sure that even if 1 or 2 people leave, company moves forward. That is something that you need to first make it in a very rock solid way. Your legal paperwork, your agreements that are in place has to be done in a very, very professional way. Something that a lot of startup founders, they don't care about it at all. They're like, I just want to get started. They don't really talk about difficult things. What if somebody leaves after 1 year, for example, right? So I think all those discussions need to have in the earlier stage itself, and the framework has to be done. Even if they go to a professional lawyer or on some, any professional CA or somebody, right, they should be able to guide them in a right way about this. So, but I think these are some of the things that companies and founders need to keep it in mind.
Thanks a lot, Vishwas, for highlighting the important points, like there should be clear agreements. And there should be legal paperwork has to be done before setting up the company. So coming to the next question, before that, I want you to please explain some things about co-working spaces. You want to share more about that, how it works, and what the scenario is going about, and how many people are interested in that.
Yeah. So co-working is a phenomenal concept, something that what was not there earlier, and this is really helpful, because what happens is, suppose there is a startup, and a startup wants to have an office, right? It's very difficult for them to go and put lakhs of rupees on some security deposit and create your interiors, rent out a space, and nobody's going to give you a small space, right? It's expensive and it's not economically viable. And if you put money in office space, what will you do with your core product or a service that you want to do? You will not have any working capital left. So co-working space comes in very handy. So it's like a business center, but a very highly advanced business center where you can come in and pay per seat. Okay, say I'm paying for like 6,000 rupees per seat, 8,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees or I'm getting a particular cabin where I can put my team there, about 8 to 9 seater, 10 seater kind of a cabin. And what happens is, and then it's a shared economy concept. So you will basically have a large floor where there are multiple meeting rooms, there are shared reception, you don't have to take care of operations, internet, for example, you don't have to take care of it, right? It's like a fully plug and play kind of an office where you come in and then you start working basically, right? And you don't have to pay security deposit, nothing. You just have to pay per month per seat. You have to do. Otherwise, what happens is in your own office space, there are about say 25 to 30 line items like housekeeping, security, AC maintenance, electricity, water. There are like n number of things which you basically have to forget about all the operational aspect, only focus on your company, your product, what to do, and you basically outsourcing your complete office kind of a thing. So because of this, co-working has become very, very critical for the industry. This is why startups are flourishing because of co-working concept. And they're very beautiful and they're very done in a very nicely way. People, they expect co-working spaces to be very beautiful, especially when Goodworks. We have done a very, very beautiful award-winning design spaces basically. And there is a technology angle as well. There is mentorship events that are going on. There are funding events that are going on. Access to investors that is happening. Access to co-founders that is happening. So multiple benefits for co-working. So that's why co-working is here to stay, and every entrepreneur should look at a co-working space when they're starting the journey. So that now it's like a no-brainer. So you need to just simply go and they'll also help you set up your company as well, starting from setting up your company, doing your accounts, payroll. Multiple service can be given by depending on what co-working place you go, they will be able to support you.
It's really nice to hear that how one can take the advantage of co-working spaces. So as we all have faced the pandemic situation currently, so is there any effect on the co-working spaces, or is there any beneficial thing which people can get?
It's co-working is now one of the hottest things, especially after pandemic, right? Because everybody wants to come back to offices, and people, for example, somebody had 100 people in their office. Now what is happening is about 70-80 people will continue to work from home. So you only need basically a smaller space, like about 10-15 seater. Occasionally you want to come to office, or you want to have one team coming at a particular time, every week, one time or something like that. So every team, every company has a different philosophy. Now some companies are asking employees to come like 1 or 2 days in a week. Some companies where there's a dependency on some hardware or some kind of a dependency on some particular physical thing. So they are asking them to create like a roster method. So roster method, you come for 1 week, next week some other team comes, after that some other team comes. So there are different ways. So what's happening is companies now are also looking at creating a network of offices. Instead of saying I'll take 1,000-seater office, people are saying I'll take about 3 or 4 smaller offices around multiple locations in Bangalore or your city, for example, right? So it will help you to basically balance out your, the travel time will cut down. It will help people also connect in that particular area, so that there is still, you have some kind of an engagement at office, and you can work from anywhere as well. So there's some kind of hybrid model that is going to emerge in 2021. So co-working locations are perfect for that.
Okay, it's nice to hear that it's a new concept and we are working on that. So if I move on to other question, so any other challenge, Vishwas, you would like to highlight for our enthusiastic beginners, and also the risk involved and how they can best mitigate them?
So the risks, right? Okay, so the basic thing I think you need to understand is okay. So let me take a step back. So one of the journalists said asked me this question, so I still remember it, right? So what is it? She had asked me what is the basically the mantra for your success. Okay, that's when I thought back, and then I tried to understand. Okay, what is it that is it truly, why did I succeed, kind of thing, right? Then when I introspected and I thought about it, I realized it's not because I'm coming from a very like a rich family or something like that. I'm a first generation entrepreneur. I'm not like a third generation or fourth generation. Neither I am having some influence from some politics or some somebody Purana Zamana people will say is a godfather with him. So there is nothing like that. Or when I think about it, I didn't even I was not like too good at something. Like I'm not like Einstein, something having like 190 IQ or something like that. So it's not like that. Or I didn't have any special advantage, anything like that. But the key thing that what I did in my entire life was basically that I was always out of my comfort zone. Okay, so I was always stretching myself out of the comfort that is there around me. Okay, so as an entrepreneur, you cannot stagnate. You cannot be too comfortable with yourself or the situation you are. That is the only way you will succeed in life. That is like, I can give a guarantee about it. So what happens is the day you are satisfied with as an entrepreneur, that means your decline will start that day, because there is nothing called success is not a destination, right? So success is a journey, right? So you either have to keep going up. There is no middle path here. If you stand, it will keep coming down, right? So that's how it is. What I want to tell all the entrepreneurs out there is, don't get too comfortable. Be restless. Okay, that Steve Jobs always told. One of the things about him was he was always restless to do something. Right, that's important. Couple of things I think for risk taking is important. That's one thing is very clear. Aiming high is important. Thinking that you're special is important. Okay. So if you don't think you're special as an entrepreneur, then what will happen is nobody else is going to either invest in you or buy your products. So it's going to affect you in every way. So that you need to feel that you're special. That is very, very critical. That's something is important. And be result oriented in everything I asked. And you asked about enthusiastic beginners, what they need to do. All right. So one thing I need to highlight is that see, an entrepreneur has to be very street smart. It's very different from being book smart. Book smart is you have all the knowledge and all the business jargons and everything but that's not going to work at all. You need to be street smart, very, very street smart. Okay, for example, in Bangalore, I was giving this example the other day. In Bangalore, when you go for real estate, you want to buy a particular office space or anything, right? East facing plots or east facing houses, Vastu compliant houses, though they are like high premium, you have to pay more rentals and everything for that. Okay, so I know one entrepreneur. He used to go to create his retail chain. He'll go and ask, I want a south facing. So south facing is cheaper. People ask, everybody comes to me and ask, give me a east facing place. You are asking, you want south facing. And then, why is it? He said, because it's cheaper. I'll save my thing because I don't believe in that concept. So I'll take this thing and I'll move on. So he's very successful, right? So he's street smart. That is being street smart. So he'll save that money as rental. He'll invest it in business somewhere else, right? Where he'll succeed. So people have to be very street smart, and that is what is entrepreneurship is all about. We have to be very professional, ethical, but still we have to think out of the box, and that is something that we should never forget. All right. So these are a few things that I wanted to basically tell people, and don't think too much about what other people are telling you. That's another problem. That is another syndrome that basically we have in India, right? So basically, first thing, you want to be an entrepreneur, log kya kahenge, what if you fail? So what will all the neighbors tell? What is everybody going to talk about you? What's going to happen? And that is the fear. That is the reason why people stop even taking the first step. Because before even they start, you have told them ki you have to succeed in life. It's like Three Idiots, right? The movie. It's like basically that's what it is. The moment you're born, you are told to do something basically. So we need to break out of the rut. That is very critical. So I always give the Three Idiots as one of the best examples. Like success के पीछे मत जाओ, excellence के पीछे जाओ, right? So if you go after excellence, money and success will follow you. So that's something will happen, and you should not think too much about what other people are telling you, especially in a bigger city like Bangalore. Results, even if you fail right now, you need to focus, pick yourself and keep moving forward.
Rightly said. लोग क्या कहेंगे इससे डरने की जरूरत नहीं है. So do not follow the rat race and forget the peer and pressure of the society basically. Rightly said, Vishwas. Thanks for that. And now moving ahead to the last question. So when we day by day, generally every person learn in his own life, whether it is a low point or high point, whether it is negative point or a positive point. So I want to know from you, kindly share any moment from your entrepreneurship journey, whether it is a low point or high point, what you have learned from that.
Yeah. So what I've learned is that for every high point to come, there has to be some kind of a low point before. This will push you to the high point. That's one thing that I have understood in my life that I have seen. And especially when I told you one of the startups that failed for me initially, and because of that, I think now I'm running a group of companies, Goodworks, a group of companies, Goodwork Labs into technology and helping customers build technology products. So we are one of the fastest growing in India right now, and we have a center in US. We have a lot of employees and hundreds of customers, helping them reach we estimated about 150 million users on the products that we have built over the last 7 years, and of course the co-working that we are doing right now, the angel fund we are creating right now. So everything that I've created right now is towards to create a scale effect in the market, right? It's only because of the kind of failures that I have gone through in my life, learned from those failures, and then taken them in the right spirit. Okay, so that's why I'm at this position right now. And another thing I wanted to highlight you was, like you had mentioned earlier, I'm also an author, and my first book, Losing My Religion, basically, and it was rejected by all the top publishers in India. And it took me about 5 years to finally get it published, because it was a passion. Storytelling is a passion, and it gets printed and it becomes an overnight bestseller basically, right? So now tens of thousands of people have read the book, and it's been about 4-5 years now, and still people continue to read it, right? So what I want to tell you is basically that if you follow your passion, the world will follow you. Right, so that is the whole mantra about it, and do what you love. Find out what you love. That is something that is missing in people. Many people want to do something because to earn money, or to just do it for the heck of it. But I believe that you need to find what you love, and that is only going to come because you experiment. You experiment a lot, and you see what you're good at, and you follow that. If you love it, you follow it. I'm being very fortunate to be able to follow my passions. And then also make money through my passions. That is something is very important, right? I have been very fortunate in that, and I think there are many people now. I think you need to follow your passions, and then I think money will follow.
So that's very important. Follow your passion, and money will follow you, and people will also follow you. You can become an influencer. Yeah, absolutely. Like you said. So, Mr. Vishwas, it was really inspiring and motivating talking with you. And hopefully, I surely believe that our audience will get benefited by this talk. And if numerous ideas are coming in their mind and numerous questions, that will be answered with this talk show. So with that, Thank you for giving us your valuable time, and thank you for sharing your opinion with us. It was an engaging webinar. It was a wonderful talk. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thanks.